So often I've commented that Johannesburg has become a hellscape. And, I can't stress this enough. If you don't live in Johannesburg, you've got no idea what it's like to live in a city and watch it crumble around you. And, we have tried to engage with some people so that I can explain who does this suit? Why do we want what was once South Africa's leading city to become this kind of Gotham City lookalike where the roads are full of potholes, the street lights don't work, the traffic lights don't work, water doesn't run out of the taps, right? This is a city with all of the infrastructure in place, but it's not maintained. I thought that it's important that we hear from everybody, and joining me today is the DA's caucus leader in Johannesburg, and that is Belinda Kaiser Etchezonchuku. I've been practicing that, and I think I got it about 90%. Belinda, welcome 90%. to the State of the Nation. I'm so glad that you're here.
Yeah, thank you so much, and good afternoon to your viewers as well. I'm glad that you finally got me here.
I finally got you.
Thank you.
But let's start off with the observation. Am I wrong? Are you seeing a different Johannesburg to the one that I'm seeing?
No, unfortunately, you are correct. Not only is the potholes, the visible decline that you see, but also not only the potholes, the South Africa's, Johannesburg bridges are also a problem. You might be driving on the freeway and see some cracks and some other problems. Also, we have a close to 200 billion rand backlog, infrastructure backlog that the mayor himself said is there, and the governance issues. And I'm sure you know how many times we as the DA took the city to court because of some of the governance failures within. So there's a systematic failure that is in the system that is causing the current decline of Johannesburg. So you're not wrong.
Yes.
It is correct. And us that are in the council, we see it, we raise it, and unfortunately we are here where we are today.
Yeah, but I will not have you talk badly of our mayor. I'll tell you why. Dada Marero is the mayor of Johannesburg. Now, this chap, you have to see him to believe him. He's the one politician who spoke the truth, man. He came into the position of mayor and said he was going to do nothing, right? He said, don't expect me to do anything. And I think it's about 2 years later, he has done absolutely nothing. So that puts him in a special category of politicians who actually said what he did, which was nothing. So we'll give him a free pass because at least he's honest. But you say that you raise these issues in your meetings. The people who are in power, and let's understand that Joburg is held together by a coalition of the ANC, who gets a lot of the flack, but it's not only them. The EFF, who always talk about good governance, but they're here stealing with the best of them. Patriotic Alliance has got the deputy mayor. They make it sound like it's somebody else, but it's them. And then Action SA supports them, and then
EFF
the mom and pop shops. Yeah, we mentioned the EFF, right. So it's this coalition that sitting over there, and for the other parties, they kind of hide behind the ANC and sort of say, well, this is ANC failure. But in the meantime, if it wasn't for the EFF, Patriotic Alliance, Action SA, the landscape would look different, wouldn't it?
100%. Well, I would dare to say, if not for the Patriotic Alliance and COPE at the time when Dr. Palatse was the mayor, we would have had a different landscape completely if the PA didn't make deals with different people and come back to request for do double deals with different people. We probably would have been able to complete the work that we started in Johannesburg, and a lot of the decline you see today. I was MMC of development planning at the time, and some of the good work that was started has all been reversed. You must know, if officials are starting to call you to say we no longer have the automated digitizing of the land use applications and building plans, you must know that it's gone completely backward to the trajectory that we were in. But we mustn't only just blame the ANC. Yeah. COPE said, Colleen Makubele at the time said she will bring the ANC through the front door, and she did that. The Patriotic Alliance has voted with the ANC when they were given two chances to keep the DA in government and complete the work because they wanted different deals with different people. And how long are we going to go through that merry-go-round of problems?
Okay, so let's talk about some of the problems because there's many. There is this crazy situation where we've got this big civic centre that sits on the hill in Braamfontein, and this is the place that's meant to be the head office for the Johannesburg city,
Council.
isn't it?
Yeah.
The building from the outside doesn't look too bad, and then there was a little fire, and suddenly everybody's been literally one day everybody was taken out of the building, housed in other building, I presume at massive expense into other places, but yet it doesn't seem like there's any repair work being done on the civic centre. Is that correct?
That's correct. The only repair work that is being done is a gate that they've put up. And my speculation is because the DA has asked to do oversights. And we've actually managed to sneak in cameras in to look at the basement, because a lot of the city's building plans are housed in the basement in some of those buildings at the Metro Centre. And that's all that we see that had been changed. If you go there now, you'll also see that the round building, the actual council chambers, there's a big hole in the glass that was supposed to have been fixed, and it's also not fixed. So very little is being done, and it almost as if it's deliberate in order to allow for it to decay even further so cadres can benefit from whatever contracts is going to happen to take over the building.
Yeah, now, it's sad, but let's start here. The Johannesburg is run with the Democratic Alliance's Government of National Unity partners. And there was an expectation after that election and the Government of National Unity being announced, much like what happened in eThekwini, in Durban, and KZN, that there would be a discussion in the areas where neither party got a majority, which was the case in Johannesburg. It's been like that for some time, that the Government of National Unity would do something about it and perhaps get those GNU partners together to run the city. What became of that?
Look, let me say there was never a discussion on Johannesburg government of local unity with the same formula at national. We've always been in opposition. We've had a previous government, as you know, with other parties. What would have been ideal is to actually keep the ANC out, because they're the same people in Johannesburg specifically, because they're the same people that have caused the problem in Johannesburg, and they think they run the city still as if they are running with an absolute majority. There has been no, obviously at local government, we don't do the negotiations on coalitions, and purposely so, that's a party's stance, because if you are involved, you are going to make decisions that only involve you. Yes, you'll be consulted on it, and the party had consulted us with some of the issues previously when we were about to be voted out. And we had been categorically clear that it is difficult to work with someone like the Patriotic Alliance, who make a deal with you, and then they also make a similar deal or a better deal, or see what deal they can get from you and get a better deal.
So it's leverage. You do a
so
deal, you can go there
they're trying
and say,
to
this
leverage.
is my price. Yeah.
Yes. And so there hasn't been any coalition discussions, as far as I'm aware, by our national government, our national federal leadership with regards to Johannesburg. I'm not aware of that.
Now, so are you saying that if there was to be a government of local unity or discussion, even going back to the days when you were in power because of a coalition, was that done through party leadership at the highest level, not provincial and definitely not local?
Well, our coalition discussions are always done with provincial and national leadership.
Okay.
And purposely, you are, as the local leadership, you are giving input into the current landscape and the concerns, the compliments, or whatever you want to give input, and they consider that when the discussions are made. Because, as I said, ideally, if you're inside, you're going to want to do what is best for you as a person. So to avoid a conflict of interest, I think this is probably the best to say, this is what I'm thinking should happen. These are my thoughts. But then as the leadership, please consider this when you are making the coalition discussions or negotiations.
Now, Belinda, I've made the accusation, and it's mine, it's nobody else's, that your national leadership seems to have lost the stomach for the fight in Gauteng. They surrendered Mpho Palatzi's mayoralty twice because they had a second bite at the cherry. There was double dealing. She took them to court. It was undone. Yes. She was put back as mayor. Then there was more negotiations. And it looked to me, as somebody that sort of watches these things quite closely, that your national leadership was absent. We then have the national elections, and what happens, and still no sign of your national leadership in Johannesburg. And then I know this is not in your jurisdiction. We have a very similar situation play out in the city of Tshwane, where the fairly comfortable coalition that seemed to exist clearly gets outbid, and the next thing, the DA is out of power in the city of Tshwane. No sign of your national leadership. I was sitting here with Tony Leon not too long ago, and I was struck when I read his book in preparation for that interview, just how focused the Democratic Alliance was on Gauteng. They were based here. But as soon as they got into power in the Western Cape, that was the end of the DA. They went to Cape and closed the door behind them. Can we tell Gautengers to forget about the DA because they're not really interested in anything outside of the Western Cape?
I disagree with that. And I'll tell you why I disagree, because I wouldn't be part of the DA if I felt there was no hope in Johannesburg and in Gauteng in particular as well. I must tell you, I just want to backtrack to what you said about the previous coalition. I don't believe that the DA has turned its back on the Johannesburg caucus. At the time, we had a discussion with our leadership prior to all of this happening, and we had a choice of whether we are going to talk to the Patriotic Alliance, which I've told you, and these are some of the information and the intelligence that became available to us of what they were doing behind the scenes. And we made a decision on whether we are going to agree and be in government for a month and be voted out because the PA got a better deal, or whether we are going to stay in the opposition and then see how we fight from the opposition benches. And I don't believe that the fight from the opposition has been totally in vain as well. Talk about Dr. Palatse's stint out of government. If not for the DA's support to take the matter to court, because she didn't do it in her personal capacity, it was done by the party, she wouldn't have had Dada Morero removed on that after that 30 days. So there was support from the party. We had actually had a poll done prior to the decision to actually then go in opposition and see how do we fight from the opposition instead of being part of the chaos, because we were not sure whether it's going to be for a month or two, whether the PA will change their minds again. They had two opportunities to vote to keep Dr. Palatse in government, and they chose to vote with what is now their coalition partners, to vote with the ANC and the EFF at the time, and Action SA. Sorry, not Action SA wasn't voting with them, but they chose to vote with the ANC and the EFF at the time. So it's not true that the party has turned their back on Johannesburg. And I can tell you, even in opposition, on a weekly basis, I speak to the leadership. We've recently just won the court case, 2 court cases, where we took the VIP matter to court, and we also took the previous city manager to court, and we won the case. I didn't do that on my own. I wouldn't have been able to do it, and I wouldn't have been able to effectively, I believe, hold the current administration accountable if the DA had turned its back on Johannesburg. I speak, yes, it's always easier to make changes in government, but sometimes it's also easier for people to see this is the kind of leadership that is currently happening that is currently running the city. And this is what you get when you don't vote to get a proper leadership, at least in government, to be able to effect those changes. And some of those changes we'll be able to effect if we get an opportunity to have a slightly bigger majority, if possible, also.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of blaming the voters. Voters vote the way they do, and I've never quite understood that it's your fault because you didn't give us a majority, therefore we're not doing anything. We're going to take our toys and go away, because it's the way it comes across.
I don't agree with you, Mike, and I'm going to say this once again. Not only does DA councillors on a daily basis raise these issues in the Section 79 committee, and we try to at least make videos these days, because we realize that the city has now tried to close some of the meetings. So where you see Parliament is open, the rules of council say it should be open. It's not open. And we start making videos to let residents see what's happening inside the council chambers and also inside the Section 79 committees. And I think I'm one of the people who have been extremely vocal about what's happening in the city. And the fact that we are able to take on things legally with the party's help, assist to be able to hold this administration accountable. And we don't only go to the legal route. We first try to get it, the city to change their mind, do what needs to get done properly for the residents of Johannesburg. And then only do we take it on legal review. And I do that through the party. I wouldn't be able to do it as in my personal capacity. We have to use the party's funds to take legal action against the city. And unfortunately, it is what it is in that case. But I also want to say one of the things that we are considering as the DA caucus, and I will lead that from the front as the DA caucus leader, is make a public call for people who have legal expertise, because what's going to happen if the DA gets an opportunity to get into government, we're going to have to, there's a whole lot of issues that are currently not working well, that we can bring in the public and maybe like an advisory panel to get legal advice on how to also effectively hold this administration accountable, and that can carry on into when 2026, when we have a DA government, because I'm very hopeful that we will get it right in 2026.
Now, these council meetings that are no longer open, that should be open, and you are trying to video. What you said?
The council meetings are open, but not the Section 79 committee meetings.
What is going on in those meetings that you can tell us?
For example, the impact reports. Some of the reports that are coming into council, you are able to see how much of unlawful, fruitless and wasteful expenditures being spent. Now, if that is open and live for people to see, they will see when their councillors are interrogating the officials and explain what is happening on those reports. You've just, on the reports that they are submitting to the Section 79 committee. You've also recently, I'm sure you've seen the 1 billion rand tender that is linked to councillors and linked to officials and families of councillors. There's also the 263 million rand water tanker allegations of corruption. Those are some of the questions that are being posed to officials, and in some cases, where if it's impact, to the city manager. Now, this is what you as a resident don't see because they are not making it live and public, open to the public. And what we've done now as the DA caucus is that we are starting to make videos after those meetings to be able to tell residents this was interrogated today and these were the responses. And if we're not happy with that responses, we obviously either take it to the next level, either asking COCTA, who sometimes don't respond, and national and provincial, and the AGSA. We've had 2 incidents where they were busy with a meeting with the bid adjudication committee where there were possible unlawful decisions that were going to be made. We got wind of it. Obviously, it was closed, which is why we don't believe that these tender meetings should be closed. It should be opened as well. It must be a transparent process. And we were able to write while they were sitting, and National Treasury actually intervened. They didn't tell us they are intervening, but the fact that that was brought back and withdrawn, we realized that something had been done for them to be able to stop the process because of the DA's intervention. So there's a lot of interventions that are being done inside those committees, what the DA is doing in council, that sometimes, because it's just the volume of things that are going wrong is just so many, that what you see the videos is a little compared to some of the wrong things we are tackling inside the council chambers. So not only the council chambers, but the Section 79 committee. And I don't think residents also take the chance, because you as a resident can request. You can write a letter to the chairperson, for example, of MPAC to come and make a presentation of your concerns. And the city is not publicizing those options that are in legislation to do and in the rules of council, that you can come, that you're concerned, you want, and you ask the chairperson of that particular committee, can I come and present my case, and can I get a response? You can do that as a resident as well. Now, if these are public, if these are open to the public to view, they will also know that residents would be able to come in, and they will probably watch you, for example, live, querying the committee and also the officials, and you'll be able to see what your councillors are doing. And that's something I would do if I were the mayor. I would insist that that be open. I would have a complete overhaul, a constitutional review of the city, because a lot of the officials are hiding, not only behind the Companies Act, to not answer questions, but they are hiding behind this lack of accountability and the current administration allowing the blockage of information flow to the public.
Now, with all of that being said, at what point does the DA, as the biggest opposition, lead what would probably be very, very popular, and that is a rates boycott? Because that is one, that's the nuclear bomb that will explode. We saw it elicit changes in this country in the 80s, right? Where people were being asked to pay rates when they weren't getting services. Now, what stops you from starting something like that in the city of Johannesburg? It's been done in other towns.
It's been done in other towns, and it was driven by civil society, I know. Mm. The challenge that we have in Johannesburg is, if you do something like that, the city would refuse to do any sort of service delivery. Mm. And we are already in
As opposed to
the little that is currently getting done. So we will have worse investor flight than we currently have. We will have more businesses closing. And the city is already surviving on loans. I previously, just before we went live, I mentioned to you that we have a close to 200 billion rand infrastructure backlog. And we have a 89 billion rand budget. And a rates boycott will put us even in a worse situation than we are already in. Yeah,
but it would lead to action. There's no doubt about it. It would lead to action. And so what I'm saying is slightly worse. I'm prepared to take slightly worse. I'm prepared to take 8-hour water off rather than 4, because it wouldn't take long before you got action.
Let me tell you, if you even do something like that under the current circumstances, you would not only fortunately, you are in Parkhurst. If you are in a ward that I have, for example, Melrose and Savoy, we have sewage flooding into people's homes in some cases, and I have to really raise hell to be able to get some answers. You will have a much worse situation, because now the city will have an excuse not to even deliver the bare minimum. And when the rebuild and the reset has to start, it will be 10 times worse to start, where it will take 5 years possibly to get to a point where we get some sort of normality. You will now probably have to get 10 years to even get the city to normality, and you'll probably have more people without jobs. because business would be leaving. You would have worse explosions of water, water infrastructure than we currently have. And the water tanker mafia that we have, that's another problem we have, will run amok.
So we must live in constant fear of a bad situation getting worse. That's our yardstick. Is that the yardstick that the DA pins it at? That this is really bad, but it could get worse.
It could get worse, but what I can tell you is, this is one of the reasons why I'm saying I'm making a public call, and I'll do it later today, to bring out some of those residents and civil society legal experts that can assist the DA caucus, pro bono, if possible, to just on like an advisory panel, to be able to tell us how to hold this administration even more accountable than we are, because writing letters doesn't seem to do the trick. The mayor writes to the president, and they parachute the bomb squad in, that we don't know what legislative framework was used, because they're not telling us the city is under administration and things like that. So this is why we're bringing in a lot more people from the outside to work with the people, because I don't believe that you can rebuild the city just on your own. You're going to have a whole of society approach, and that is the approach I would take if I were to be the mayor of the city of Joburg.
Now, while we talk about senior party leaders, we had a situation recently where, for those that don't know, this has got to be only in South Africa. This is comedy gold. But we are going to get the other 19 biggest economies in the world coming to Johannesburg at the end of this year. Okay, where our city is going to be on show to the rest of the world, possibly even President Donald Trump, and he's going to come and see what a wonderful city Johannesburg is, and why Americans should be told to invest here, and why Germans and Japanese and Chinese and all these people with money should invest in Johannesburg. And he said in his inimitable fashion, I'm shocked. He lives in Johannesburg, right? He's shocked at the state of this, and promised an intervention, and then he drove off into the sunset to be shocked somewhere else. But, if he's in Johannesburg, and him and John Steenhuisen seem to be best mates now, they seem to, comb each other's backs. I don't know what they do. Their performance inside the White House was disgraceful. But anyway, that's a separate issue. If they're such good mates and have each other on WhatsApp all the time, why is your leadership not doing anything about the city of Johannesburg?
I can't talk about whether our federal leader is big mates with the president. But what I can tell you is that the federal leadership has been speaking to us on a weekly basis.
Can you disclose who?
Helen has been big.
Right.
Remember, Helen is almost like the SG of the organization. It is our business to know what's going on in metros, in the city of Johannesburg specifically. For example, when the previous budget was passed, we spoke about it, and one of the reasons what we were asking for. And also, when we decided not to support this particular budget that was recently, we also speak to her. And the support from the national leadership is there for the councillors that are working in here. I think it was last week, when we were talking about the water crisis situation, and whether we should get our party legal team onto it as well, because the discussion we had was the human rights violations as a result of the water crisis across the city. And those are some of the things that we are discussing almost on a weekly basis. So I don't agree that the DA has abandoned the city of Johannesburg, because when these type of things happen, when we raise these kind of issues, sometimes it is easy to raise it from an opposition perspective, and then residents will also see what you are doing, but also if you were in government, what you would change when you were in government.
Now let's talk about those residents for a minute, because one would imagine that the degradation that we talk about would hurt the voting performance of those parties that are doing it. Instead, they are making advances at your expense.
I don't agree with that. I think our latest polling is showing us that the DA is actually doing
by-elections.
In by-elections, simply because people are also using crookery to be able to do what they got to do. We don't have proof of those, but we have concerns that are raised from those residents, even now after they voted, that are raising concerns. We don't know the details of possibly underhanded things that could have happened. I must tell you, I don't agree with the fact that these parties are making advances because they're in government. I do believe that the residents are not fools. They can see if you're in government, you should be able to exercise more power to be able to fix what is broken, and they are not doing that. If we were in government, we would have made use of the water infrastructure grants that is available. This current administration is not doing that. And even wards that they govern are called residents who live in wards where the ANC is in government, where the Patriotic Alliance is have ward councillors, are contacting us to be able to assist them. And we don't turn them away. We show them that the DA actually cares for everybody in Johannesburg. And if we were in government, they would have a chance now, when we go towards 2026, to make sure that we get into government, to be able to access those water infrastructure grants, give proper plans to be able to be accountable and fix the water infrastructure in the city, which this administration is refusing to give to those, the water department, that have said that the municipality's problems are not lack of water. The problem is bursts and lack of plans and lack of accountability. The minister said it herself. And we're saying as the DA, no, those people are not, the current administration is not making advancement, because polling shows us that they are not. And if their residents in their wards are coming through to the DA to ask for help, then it's clear to see that they are looking to the DA for help.
Now, the Minister of Public Works is a Democratic Alliance minister. I don't know if we've seen him in Johannesburg, but doesn't he have any sway over what happens to our public works in Johannesburg? Because he's been probably also in the Western Cape. Haven't seen him.
Look, remember, he's a minister, and he needs to also work with the relevant authorities that are there. If he's invited, I'm sure you wouldn't have a problem coming.
Have you not invited him?
We haven't invited him yet for an oversight.
Why not?
Because, remember, infrastructure is mainly some of the buildings that belongs to national government. There's a full audit of which belongs to the city, which belongs to province, and which belongs to national. We've asked for that to be done already through the system, the systems within the city. And we will invite Minister Dean McPherson to come through and do it. Unfortunately, when he does...
You're going to stand on the line. You're going to hold the line that you're getting support from your top management.
We are.
Even though the Minister of Public Works hasn't come to the city where the buildings are literally exploding.
Well, those buildings belong to the city of Johannesburg.
Yeah, but I'm saying he's still...
But Public Works is not Public Works would be responsible for the city, for the buildings that belong to them. The buildings that belong to the province also, the Premier has to also take some sort of responsibility. Yep. And the buildings that were exploding, I can tell you, was the City of Joburg buildings. And those buildings are managed by JPC, which is why we opened those culpable homicides.
That's run by that woman,
JPC, which is Helen Bottas, which is why we opened the culpable homicide.
A crook, yeah.
We opened the culpable homicide case, a criminal case against her. And we also opened a criminal case against her again, because of the PPE corruption that happened previously, because currently we don't know what's happening with the monies that are coming from outdoor advertising, which is also run by JPC, the land that is owned by the city, all the immovable assets. We don't know how much monies are coming in, and the problems you are talking about, the income we can get from those that can be generated from these immovable assets by just getting rid of some that is not maintained or that is empty. Auction it off, get the money and redirect it to infrastructure.
Maybe I'm just being stupid here. is the Democratic Alliance not the second biggest party in the country?
Yes.
Are they not in government?
No, they're not in government in Johannesburg.
No, I'm talking about in government. And this is supposed to be South Africa's biggest city. And they're just sitting back and waiting for process. Is this all we're going to hear out of the DA?
I think some of these national issues as to why there's no discussion in Johannesburg, you'll have to have the discussion with the national leadership. I can tell you what we are doing in Johannesburg as the DA, as the local caucus in Johannesburg, and this is what we are doing. We are holding the administration accountable. If we have to take them to court, we ask the party for support to take them to court. And also, if we need to open criminal cases, we do that. Recently, we've also written to the president to have the SIU investigate JPC for the past 10 years of what they've done. Because you can't also say that all the problems that are happening in Johannesburg with Johannesburg buildings, for example, should be a national issue. They're going to tell you there's three spheres of government. The local government sphere must also take responsibility.
Yeah, but there's got to come a time where you intervene. There's surely got to be a time when your premier city, your biggest city, is falling to pieces. You know, your New York of South Africa is falling to pieces. And you sit back and you say, well, you know, three spheres of government. Sorry, we're not in, sorry, we'll just sit back. When you are the second biggest party in the country and in governance with the ANC, and you're sitting back saying, sorry, nothing to see here.
This is one of the reasons I say to you, it would be best placed for you to have the discussion with the national leadership. As I said, even if there are any coalition discussions, I, at local government, will not be part of that coalition discussions. I can give input and say, these are my concerns, these are my views and things. And the national leadership will have to have the discussion as to where do they see Johannesburg and how bad will it have to get.
Well, the one sign that maybe your national leadership is starting to put some attention to Johannesburg is the rumors that have been circulating that your current federal chair lady, Helen Zille, might throw a hat into the ring as mayor of Johannesburg. Now, one would imagine that you would be the obvious candidate, but she has said, and she hasn't disputed the reports. What do you think of the idea of Helen Zille standing to be mayor of Johannesburg in next year's local government elections?
I previously said to you that I think it shows that the DA has not abandoned Johannesburg. For me, that is encouraging. It shows that she hasn't abandoned Johannesburg, the party. And also it puts the spotlight on Johannesburg. It also shows that myself, as somebody who's also thrown my hat in the ring, will have to make sure that I have a foolproof plan to be able to present to in competition with someone like Helen Zille, for example, and that is a good thing. It's not a bad thing, because the party has processes where everyone who feel that they qualify apply to be the mayoral candidate, and we all go through the process. And I've read the reports, and she said that she will have to go through the process like everybody else. And I do believe that the party has fair processes. So whoever will become the candidate will be the outcome of that process. A lot of work will need to be done. We'll need a total reset. I do believe that I'm up for the task. And I do believe with someone like Helen, who has been supporting me, even from while we were in opposition, assisting when we need advice on how to tackle some of the issues based on her previous experience as the mayor.
Mayor of Cape Town.
Mayor of City of Cape Town. It really assisted me to be able to, I believe, be an effective opposition and also craft out possible solutions that we propose. Because one of the things that I had done when I was elected the caucus leader was that we are not going to be official opposition that just complain about the ANC or its coalition partners. When we complain, we provide alternative solution. And that is exactly what we've done, even though they don't take it. But it's a good thing that the spotlight is back on Johannesburg, and also gives me an opportunity, if I can put it up my game, to be able to give a foolproof plan for Johannesburg.
Okay, now let's just sort of look at the money side of things. Johannesburg, as I saw in last year, budget of 82 billion.
89.
89. But then they had to go get a 2 billion capital loan to pay current expenses, which is a bit like taking a home loan to go shopping for kids' toys at Christmas time. And this was passed by the speaker, the Action SA speaker, who facilitated this loan. And the first thing they did with the money was increase salaries. Is that correct?
Yes. It's one of the concerns that we had raised previously, which is why we rejected the budget. 30% of the budget was made out of loan funding. I think it's 30 to 40% of the budget. And we had a problem with that because grants were being returned to National Treasury that could have been assisting to deal with some of the issues. And also not only loan money being used to deal with salaries and settle bonuses, which is completely unacceptable, but also some of the capital projects, the capex money was also being used for operational budgets, repairs and maintenance and things like that. And that's a problem for us. It's totally unacceptable that monies meant that that you as a resident are going to pay interest on 2 billion rand, and 30 to 40% of the budget is made out of the funding, which is loans, grants, and all of that, is going towards salary stock. Already we've queried it. It's unacceptable.
So other than writing very, stern letters and legal challenges, I suppose you're a bit limited in the absence of your leadership actually speaking to people that they deal with every day, one would imagine.
What we do is recently we've put in a motion of no confidence in Dana Morero.
But it won't pass.
Are you sure it won't pass?
Yeah, I'm 100% sure it won't pass because he's got a majority with all the people who are on his payroll.
What I can tell you is that the minute we mentioned the motion, we were approached by parties already. And even people within the ANC have approached us. Some of these parties asked us to please remain anonymous, but they said to us that if this was a secret ballot, they will be voting with us.
But it's clearly not.
So we are requesting for a secret ballot. We are aware that there are already plans to block it. So what we've done is the legal people within the caucus are already checking just the admissibility, because both the speaker's motion, we've put a motion in both the speaker and the mayor. And simply because the speaker has not been holding the mayor accountable, which is what she committed to do. And there's many opportunities. We've seen it with previous speakers where she can actually use her power. So those people that have come through to us to say, because we didn't even have to approach them, they came to us to say, we will support this motion if you ask for a secret ballot. And we did. We are asking for a secret ballot, and we will have to see inside the council chambers whether they're keeping their word or not. But if we add up the numbers based on the people that have come to us, not even us approaching them, we do have the numbers.
That is, the speaker is Nobuhle Mthembu, is that right? From Action SA. She was on this platform telling us that she will hold the mayor to account and then approve the salary increase for herself.
Yes.
So, and now won't answer our calls.
And by the way, some of the DA's alternative solutions was not a salary increase. And in fact, not an increase for councillors as well. It's one of some of the alternative proposals. In fact, one of the reasons why we're putting the motion as well is that we've reached out with this budget, this recent budget that was passed, the 89.4 billion, I think. We've reached out to the executive, the mayor and the MMC to give proposals. We said, even though we're not in government, we know you'll take the credit, it's fine, but it's about the residents of Johannesburg. We've actually given them a full alternative budget that could work and still, without all the mess around it that there currently is. And they didn't even have the decency to return the calls. And that's why I'm saying residents are watching, residents are seeing, but all of these plans that we have, which includes a full institutional review, including getting rid of some of these boards, is something that residents must look at, and the DA would have the hair on our teeth to do that. And I'm one of those leaders who would be able to do that.
Well, Belinda, thank you so much for coming through and sharing these insights with us. I think it's very, very important. You know, to anybody out there, we've heard the terms too big to fail. You know, often there's certain things, be it banks or be it big institutions. We saw it with Eskom, we saw it with SAA, where in this country, where it was argued that these institutions are too big to allow them to fail. Well, apparently that doesn't apply to our cities here in Gauteng. If you feel that the DA should be more muscular than writing angry letters or maybe taking the odd thing to court, let me know in the comments below. I certainly, you know, I must admit the thing that, from my perspective, that's running out of its useful life is this idea things could be much worse if we took stronger action. Not a big fan, but I do understand the limitations. But to Belinda Kaiser, Echo Jonku, nearly got it right, but thank you so much for coming through. We're going to have you back on here.
Thank you.
Joburg, as I've said on many times in the State of the Nation, we're not going to let this issue slide. We feel that this is our city. It doesn't belong to a few politicians. People's lives and livelihoods are here, and we do give a damn, even if the politicians perhaps don't give a damn. And all strength to you in everything that you do.
Thank you, and I can show you we do give a damn.
Yeah.
And that is why we go out there every day to represent you.
It must be a thankless job because, you know, right now you're getting it from all sides. So, you know, forgive my frustration, but, you know, best of luck.
Thank you.
And we'll keep going. And it would be great if Mayor Dada Moreira would answer my invitations and come on this platform. Or the Speaker, Nabuhle Ntembu, who was here and promised to come back and then gave herself an increase and won't answer subsequently, so it would be quite nice. Or Deputy Mayor Kenny Kunene from the Patriotic Alliance, who seems to only get involved in spats with Julius Malema, but I'm not sure what work he does. He also said he was coming on this show, and he hasn't. So all of those people running scared, the invitation is out there to you. If you know them, please nudge them on the shoulder, come to the State of the Nation. Tell us how wrong we all are and what a wonderful city Johannesburg is and what you're doing right. We'd love to hear from you. But to Belinda, thank you so much.
Thank you.
To everybody, support Pace Car Rental. They're still in Johannesburg for now, before I presume they leave to Cape Town like everybody else. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe. We'll see you again on the State of the Nation. Thank you.